I'm not fantasizing right now, guys. I'm talking from my experience because I've seen enough people in Germany and I work with enough people who live in English-speaking countries and who struggle with the same things. The same things as people who live in a non-English-speaking country. It doesn't really matter. People put too much emphasis on somebody or something or a country. They believe that if they find the right teacher, the teacher will teach them everything. They believe that if they move to the right country, something will miraculously happen and the country will make them speak better English, or they will get a job there, their dream job. Or they believe that if they find the right friend, this friend will immediately jump on a mission to teach them better English. Or they believe that if they start dating someone who speaks English from birth, their partner will educate them and to teach them English. In fact, it should be your job. It's your work. Hi everyone who is listening, who has tuned in. I would like to answer the question that you guys ask a lot, and the question is, do I need to live in an English-speaking country to achieve native-like fluency? How important is that criteria? Like, everybody understands that you need to be exposed to the English language. Everybody understands that you need to practice on a daily basis, but how much do you really need to practice, and how do you need to do that? Do you need to live in an English-speaking country to achieve native-like fluency? Do you need to surround yourself with native speakers and have only native speakers as friends? And do you necessarily need to move to an English-speaking country or take language classes in an English-speaking country in order to advance your speaking skills and improve your overall ability to speak a foreign language at a very high level? Everybody talks about it and everybody says that you definitely need to live in an English-speaking environment if you want to become fluent. But here is the catch. Everybody understands the word fluent differently. Some people mean conversational by the word fluent. When I say the word fluency, I mean native-like fluency. When you're fluent in a language, it means you don't think when you speak. Your speech just flows. It's fluent. You don't need to translate every word, and you can understand native speakers as if you grew up together, right? And people understand you no problem as well. We are not going to be native speakers. It's impossible because you had to be born in an English-speaking country. We cannot change that fact, but we can certainly achieve native-like fluency. Native-like, which is very close to the way native speakers talk, and which is way more advanced than academic advanced level and academic proficient. Because the highest academic level we know today is C2, which is proficiency, right? That's called the proficiency test. Native-like fluency, in my understanding, is way higher. And there is no finite goal. You can develop native-like fluency all your life, and that's actually not something that frightens me, that excites me, because every day I learn something new, and every day I learn so many nuances that make all this journey a lot more interesting. Let's get into it and let's start answering this question. Do you really need to live in an English-speaking country to achieve native-like fluency? We're gonna look at facts first. How many people do you know who moved to an English-speaking country? They have lived there for 5 months, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and their language skills have not changed. Their language skills have stayed the same. I know many people like that, and I used to live in a German-speaking country for 5 years, and I was surrounded by people who had come to this country way before me, who had lived in this country way longer than myself. They had been there for 20 years before I came, and my German was better than theirs. I'm not boasting here and I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that I've seen enough examples when non-native speakers come to the country where people speak this language from birth, but unfortunately that doesn't work. The facts are very stubborn. The fact didn't change. Their English level hasn't changed. Around maybe 30% of my students are non-native speakers who live in an English-speaking country. They're surrounded by native speakers and they hear English speech every single day. They have all the chances in the world to improve their language skills, but we see the facts. Their language skills do not really change, and it's very hard to argue with facts. The question that I ask myself is why? right? Why are these people not moving where they want to move? I have identified a few answers that I think make sense, and I want to share them with you. So when you find yourself in a new environment, and many people who are learning the English language, they believe that as soon as they land in London, or as soon as they happen to be in the US, their English miraculously changes and becomes more advanced. And every day we see that it's not happening. Why? Because those people who come to an English-speaking country, they either go there for work, or they move there, or they follow their spouse, whatever. They apply the same tactics and the same learning strategies. I'm going to put it here, same tactics or same strategies. They keep learning the English language the same way that they were learning English when they were back home. Same tactics and same learning strategies. They deal with new information the same way. They work on their listening skills the same way. They express themselves the same way, and they try to learn new things that they encounter every single day the same way. When you apply the same strategies, you get the same result, even if you're in the new environment. The second reason that I think works is that their environment doesn't really change. So same learning strategies and also the same environment. Let me give you an example. When I lived in Germany, I had lived there for 5 years, and I saw quite a lot of people who didn't really change their environment. Their environment stayed the same. Yes, they moved to an English-speaking country. The supermarket environment has changed. They go to different supermarkets, they go to different state organizations, they go to different business meetings. People are different over there. But like the biggest chunk of all the communication happens at home in their first language, and it happens with their friends and family members in their first language as well. I saw a huge Russian community. You know, people visit each other, they follow the same traditions, they have meals together, they go out together, they look after their children. You know, I'm not saying that this is something bad, it's something very natural, but their environment doesn't really change. Then the next reason why, we're speaking about why people who move to an English-speaking country don't really advance their language skills. The third reason that I see is they use the same skills. Because in order to apply new learning strategies and new tactics, you need a different set of skills. So they live in the same environment with the same skills, and they apply the same learning strategies. And they get the same result. I'm not fantasizing right now, guys. I'm talking from my experience, because I've seen enough people in Germany, and I work with enough people who live in English-speaking countries and who struggle with the same things. The same things as people who live in a non-English-speaking country. It doesn't really matter. People put too much emphasis on somebody or something or a country. They believe that if they find the right teacher, the teacher will teach them everything. They believe that if they move to the right country, something will miraculously happen and the country will make them speak better English, or they will get a job there, their dream job. Or they believe that if they find the right friend, this friend will immediately jump on a mission to teach them better English. Or they believe that if they start dating someone who speaks English from birth, their partner will educate them and to teach them English. In fact, it should be your job. It's your work. So many people expect somebody to sit down in front of them and to start teaching them, when in fact, you need to be very attentive and you need to learn. Not somebody needs to teach you. It's your job. You need to learn, and you need to learn to learn. Even from people who are not teaching you anything, who don't have this intention to teach you anything. They just live, and that's what you can do as well. Just live and learn and be attentive. So this is reason number 3, and reason number 4 that I have identified for myself is same thinking. Absolutely. I'm talking about 4 things. Same thinking, same learning strategies, same environment, and same skills. The same skill set. And this is why it's not working. The country cannot do that. People cannot do that. It's your job. You need to do that. And people find themselves understanding everything that people say. People say, oh, of course, my listening skills have improved. My vocabulary has expanded. I now understand a lot more. I get by. I hear a lot better. I read better. I know more words. But unfortunately, I cannot speak as freely and as clearly as I see other people can, and I know that I can do it. I just don't know what I'm doing wrong. I know that I have this potential, but I don't know what I can do differently to achieve that native-like fluency, or just to achieve better fluency. Now, is it possible? Yes, it's absolutely possible. And again, let's look at facts. Do we know people who do not live in an English-speaking country, or maybe people who have never even visited an English-speaking country and whose English skills are incredible? Think about it. Do you know such people? The reason I'm asking you this question is that I know these people. Even if you go to YouTube right now, if you just browse through YouTube channels of non-native speakers who talk about how they learned the English language, is amazing. There are Russian speakers, there are Italian speakers, there are Spanish speakers, there are Romanian native speakers who speak, even French native speakers who speak incredible English, and they have never lived in an English-speaking country. And some people, like I follow a girl on YouTube, she's from the Ukraine, she has never even been to one. And she speaks pretty much like a native speaker, absolutely native-like fluency. They're living proof that this is absolutely possible. And right now, unfortunately, we all don't travel that much, but last year and years before, I would travel a lot, and every time I would go to an international conference, I would always meet people there just like myself. I would always meet people who speak incredible English, but they travel around. They don't live in an English-speaking country. They're based somewhere, in a country where the official language is not English. They might be based in Kiev, they might be based in Moscow, they might be based somewhere in Portugal. They're not based in an English-speaking country. However, their English skills are incredible. And the interesting thing about those people is that they do not learn English the way most people do. The way they learned these skills has nothing to do with what people imagine. The way they learned English is incomparable to what most people are told to do. They've never dealt with a textbook. They've never done those stupid tasks like fill in the gaps and memorize 25 words by tomorrow, because tomorrow I will come and check if you learned those words. They do not need to be controlled by someone. It's just a completely different tactics and completely different strategies. When you talk to them, you realize that they learned the language in a completely different way. And that's interesting. If these people exist, yes, they're the minority, but these people exist, and they're obviously doing something different. And to me, it makes sense to study what they're doing instead of studying what the majority of people are doing who are not going anywhere. I'm not trying to say that you do not need to visit an English-speaking country, you do not need to go there, you do not need to live there. No. I lived in Germany myself, and to be honest, that I did improve my German skills because I lived in the country. Moreover, I was staying with a German host family, and I was learning a lot from children. I was looking after two kids, 13 and 11-year-old, and the first 2 weeks, even though I thought my German was already intermediate, the first 2 weeks I couldn't understand a word that they were saying. But my teachers were the kids. They didn't care if I didn't understand. They would just come and tell me whatever they had to say. And every time I didn't understand, they would just roll their eyes and go away. They didn't care if I didn't get it, okay? Their attitude was like, oh, you didn't understand me? That's your problem. But I also understand that when I came to Germany, first of all, that was already my second foreign language. I knew how to learn a language. I knew what strategies I need to apply. My German was already intermediate. And I was exactly in the situation where most people find themselves when they move to an English-speaking country and they think their English is okay, but turns out they don't understand children, they don't understand movies, they don't understand what people tell them in supermarkets. They don't understand what somebody is announcing on the train station when you're waiting for your train on the platform. That was exactly my situation. I thought my German skills were okay, but it turned out that they were not. It was absolutely not enough. But as I'm telling you, I came there with already an intermediate level. I knew how to learn a language. I used my teaching skills, and I went to German classes every single day. If I only stayed at home with those children, with that family, I don't think I would have learned the language. I was staying with the family the first year, and I would go to German classes every single day for a year, because my goal back then was to pass a test that would allow me to enter a German university. And in order to enter a German university, you need to pass a Sprachprüfung für den Hochschulzugang. It's like the language test that allows you to study in a German university, in an academic institution. So that means your language skills are close to the skills of a native speaker, and you're able to absorb and perceive information in the German language. It's similar to what I call native-like level, but it's a little bit lower than that. So now I understand. Back then I thought it's the best level you can achieve ever. And after I passed the test and after I started taking my classes, I realized that even that wasn't enough. I needed more. I was doing a lot actually for myself. I was applying strategies, I was learning new skills, I changed my environment completely in order to learn German. So after a year I could pass that test and I entered the university. And I remember that moment for me was, when I realized that my German has improved. Actually, there were two moments. I would go everywhere by bike when I lived in Germany. But in order to go to the university, I needed to take a train. It's like a 15-minute trip by train to another city. So I would go by train every day. And every day I would listen to those announcements. Usually German trains are very punctual and they arrive on time. But sometimes, things happen. There might be an announcement that the platform has changed, or the train is delayed, or the train is not coming today, or something is cancelled, or there is an emergency, or whatever. And I hated those announcements because I could never understand what exactly they are saying. What exactly am I supposed to do right now? Especially when you have to change a few trains in order to get to your destination point. And then they start announcing something, they announce it once, and that's it, that's your only chance. And you have to understand, you have to run to platform 3, platform 5, exit A, exit B. I couldn't remember and comprehend that information, so I hated that the first year because I couldn't understand that. I would always ask people who on the train where exactly I was supposed to go. And I remember that one day I was standing there and I noted for myself that I can understand every single word that the announcement said, and it was such a confident, calm feeling inside that I hear it, I understand every word of it, and I understand what I need to do. The announcement said that the train is going to be 5 minutes late and that the passengers need to change the platform. So I went and changed the platform, and then the next day I repeated the exercise. I was listening to all the announcements on purpose, and I noticed that I understand every announcement. That was a revelation for me. One day I was going by train to the campus, and I was reading a book. I think I was reading a book in the Russian language. Yes, it was clearly a book in the Russian language. And two people entered the train and sat behind me. And they started speaking German. And I remember that feeling. I was so annoyed because my first feeling was that I was annoyed because I wanted to focus on the book and I couldn't focus, I couldn't read the book because I was distracted by this dialogue. And then I told myself, hey, listen, what's going on? I could understand every single word these people were saying, and because I could understand them, and because I was not interested in the details of that conversation and their family problems, I was annoyed because I wanted to focus on the book, but instead I was distracted by the family story. But then I told myself, hey, listen, remember like 6 months ago, it didn't matter to you because you didn't understand anyway what people were saying. And now you understand every single word that they're saying to the point where you can repeat exactly what they're saying. And that was the second aha moment for me when I realized that, oh, that's what it feels like. Now I really can hear what German people are saying. I identified it as the next milestone, and I realized that I was going in the right direction, and I need to change the tactics now and do something different and take it from there. I need to develop that, and I need to understand how I did it so I can do it better, so I can do it more. And basically, my course, Learn to Hear Every Single Word in English, is built around the strategies that I applied myself, and to learn to do that, and to learn to advance and develop and master that skill. Because it was a life-changing moment, I'm telling you. That's a story that shows that living in a country, in this native-speaking environment, does help people to master a foreign language. However, it doesn't help on its own. You also need to apply significant effort to achieve that. And maybe achieve is also the wrong word, because you can never achieve it. It never feels like you achieved it and now it's done. And the whole story with academic levels, to me, it makes little sense, because it tells people you can achieve this level and you're done. It teaches people to apply this finite mindset to language learning. In real life, it doesn't work. Just it doesn't work. Because we learn language to communicate with people. I learned the language to communicate with people, to understand people better, to build better relationships, not to learn all the grammar, not to know more words, no, but to be able to express myself in a foreign language, to be able to understand people. And relationships is everything in business and in life. It's not about grammar, it's not about words. If this is possible, and if we see facts, let's talk about the things we can do to master the language and to achieve native-like fluency without having to travel or without having to move to an English-speaking country. You can travel, it's always fun, right? But it's not the prerequisite. It's absolutely not the prerequisite for improving your fluency and for improving your language skills. We looked at why, now let's look at how. How are we going to do this? And I have a few suggestions. All the 4 points that we mentioned before, we need to obviously change them. So if people move to an English-speaking country and they do not change their environment, if they keep communicating with the same people in the same language, the environment doesn't change, you need to change the environment without leaving your home country. That's absolutely possible. Sorry. The word change is probably the wrong word, and this is why people react so, in a very defensive way to this suggestion that they have to change the environment. No, instead think about it this way. You need to create English-speaking environment in your life. My first tip, change the language of your phone. The language of your phone needs to be in English, because you look at your phone 200 times a day. Ask yourself, what are you watching? What content are you consuming? In what language is this content? If you never read anything in English, if you never listen to anything in English, if all the YouTube videos you watch are in your first language, then you're not creating this environment. For many people, creating the English-speaking environment means hiring a private teacher, and now the responsibility of this private teacher is to create the environment for them. But it's not about that. Not the teacher is supposed to be responsible for creating the English-speaking environment in your life. You need to be responsible for that. Apart from the lessons, if you are taking private lessons, what are you doing apart from that? It's easily fixed if you look at the content that you consume every day. Something that you do every day. What you can do, a very simple thing you can do your to-do lists in English. The language of the software can be in English. Be creative. But this is important. We had environment, then skills, right? I have a list of YouTube videos on the skills that you need to develop. Here I talk about 9 skills. You definitely need to change the skills in order to apply different strategies to learn the language. Most of the time, if you are watching this video right now and if you understand everything I'm saying, that means your English skills are already better than average, okay? If you understand me. I usually work with people who already have average language skills, but they need more. People who already have advanced English skills according to academic criteria, but they need more. And if you watch this video, you probably need the same thing. And when you achieve that level, above average, upper intermediate, advanced, whatever you label it, you need to stop applying the strategies that you were using to get to this point. Now you need to change the strategies, and in order to change the strategy, you need to learn the new skills. I talk about 9 essential skills that non-native speakers need to develop in order to achieve native-like fluency. And in my world, in my system, these skills are attentiveness, listening and short-term memory, diction, doubting yourself, mastering articles, brevity, clarity, writing, and rhythm. Number 9 is rhythm. All these skills help you apply different strategies, learning strategies, apply different tactics to improving your language skills and improve your fluency. I have videos on YouTube on every skill, and I'm adding new videos on each skill, so check out my YouTube channel, you will find them there. Now, we were also talking about learning strategies, right? So here these things are, they go together. Once you start working on the skills, you will automatically be working on new learning strategies. Absolutely, because once you understand how these things apply to everyday learning activities, your learning activities will change and your results will change drastically. I also have a video on YouTube which is called Reverse the Strategy to Achieve Native-like Fluency, so you probably want to watch this as well. What exactly you need to change, what mindset shift is required to apply different strategies to achieving native-like fluency. One of my courses is called Learning to Think in the English Language, because thinking skills are the most important skills here. Once you have reached that level where you are right now, and if you feel that you need more, you want more, but you don't really understand how to get there, you probably understand as well that you need to learn to think differently, to be able to formulate your ideas and to be able to articulate your thoughts in a way that native speakers understand you. It's not about translating, it's not about mastering new vocabulary, it's really about changing your thinking patterns. Because native speakers think differently. If you follow the syntaxis rules or the grammar rules to create your sentences, to build your sentences, they're going to look awkward most of the time. You really need to learn to feel the language, but in order to do that, you need to change your thinking strategies and you need to develop different thinking skills. I have a course, Learning to Think in the English Language, where we do that through writing. You can't do it just by listening to native speakers. You can't do it just by putting yourself in a country where people speak only English. If you place a kid in the English-speaking environment, they will pick up the language really fast. If we talk about adults, unfortunately, we see that it doesn't happen as fast as it does with children. Adults need more help. They have, unfortunately, lost many skills that we have as children. Children identify information a lot better, and they don't have this critical barrier, and they feel things faster than we do, than adults do. This is why even if you just place yourself like in the English-speaking environment, it's not going to help you learn to speak freely, fluently, to formulate your ideas beautifully, to write clear and clean sentences in the English language. Most people who travel to an English-speaking country and who spend a week or two there on vacation, they say, I need 2-3 days to adjust, to change the way I think, to start hearing what people say, and then after 2, 3, or 4 days, with everyone the number is different, they say, I start understanding these people better. But again, most people that I work with, they tell me that it's not enough. Okay, after 4 days, I can understand them better. Let's say if you travel to Australia, you probably need a few days to get used to the Australian accent. But it doesn't mean you're getting more fluent. It doesn't mean you are becoming a better conversation partner. It doesn't mean that your speaking or writing skills are improving. No, you are simply teaching yourself to understand the specific accent. But that's it. This is an illusion if people think, oh, now I can understand people better and it means my English skills are improving. Definitely, you're practicing every day. That's important. But many people don't realize that when they simply speak as often as they can, they are practicing what they already know. And when you practice what you already know every single day, you're not changing anything. You're just maintaining the same level. When we speak about achieving native-like fluency, most of the time we're talking about achieving a new level for you, the level that you didn't know existed. And very naturally, you don't know how to get there because you've never been there and you have never tried going there. So somebody who is already there can help you. get to this point, if you want them to guide you and if you want them to help you. But if you've never been there, it's very logical that you have no idea how to get there. Otherwise, if you knew how to get there, you would be already there, right? But you're not. You have to always ask yourself, like, am I improving my English skills or am I practicing what I already know? What's the purpose of this activity that I'm doing right now? Let's say some people tell me that once a week they have a call with a native speaker just to practice their English skills. They have a call with a native speaker every week for 2 years. And their language skills are the same. Their language skills are not changing. Every week they're practicing what they already know. To wrap it up, I just want to give you 2 exercises that you can do on your own without having to travel to an English-speaking country. Very simple exercises. A lot of people practice their listening skills by watching YouTube videos in English, by watching movies, by watching TV shows, etc., etc. And many people want to do that without subtitles. They're testing how advanced their language skills already are. My tip is, whenever you have a chance to have a conversation with a real person, don't only practice your listening skills. Don't try to translate everything, or don't try to prove to yourself that you have understood everything. Practice checking your understanding. That means clarify that, have you understood the question correctly? If we're having a conversation, then you will say something to me, and before I reply, I will check my understanding. And in order to do this, I need to say something like, let me clarify, do I hear you correctly? Are you saying that? And I need to repeat exactly what I heard, or I need to repeat what I think I have just heard. It's a brilliant, beautiful, and a very simple exercise where you can easily check if you can understand what people are saying, what message they're sending, because very often people receive only the words that they know, and then they try to create a sentence or a message out of the words that they know, but there are all the other words that were said in the sentence, but they don't know these words, they just ignore them. And then when you're trying to create a whole thing by gluing fragments to one another, you don't see the big picture. You can't see the big picture. So it's a beautiful exercise. If you watch a movie, you can do this with a real person. Whenever they say something, always clarify, repeat back what you think you're hearing. Or when you watch a movie or a TV show, any episode, you can listen to a person saying something for 20 seconds and then try to pause the video and try to repeat to yourself what you think you have just heard. And practice this phrase. If I understand correctly, this person has just said that. And say exactly what you think you have just heard. You will discover so many things once you start doing this exercise. You will understand that you need to remember what people said. You can also test yourself. What vocabulary do you use when you repeat back what you think you have just heard? Do you use the vocabulary that people said, or do you use the vocabulary that you already know? Do you translate what they said, or can you repeat exactly what they said? There are so many nuances in this once you start doing this exercise. And if you start doing this exercise, if you try, feel free to text me, email me, let me know your feedback, what did you feel, how did it go, or even if you did something and you didn't get anything, you didn't understand if you're doing it correctly or not correctly, you can always text me and ask a question like, okay, this is what I did, but I didn't understand if it worked. Did I do it correctly? That's absolutely normal. So if you feel like you need clarification or you need some corrective feedback, or you just have a question and you're stuck, that's okay, just text me. That's one exercise. Check understanding. Practice checking understanding. And the second exercise I had for you is practice your short-term memory. Repeat what native speakers say and pay attention to the structure of the sentence. A lot of non-native speakers have problems with the sentence structure, not really the vocabulary, but the sentence structure. They use the right vocabulary, but they put them in the wrong places inside a sentence. And then the sentence looks awkward and it doesn't really sound English. It sounds like a bad translation. What you can do, you can turn any YouTube video on in English, you should watch a video where native speakers talk. Watch any YouTube video, better a live interview where it's not a prepared talk, but people just talk, right? Maybe a podcast, maybe an interview, maybe a live show, and listen to how people speak, pause the video and try to repeat. It's enough if you repeat 5 phrases. Trust me, you don't need to spend 2 hours doing this exercise. You don't need to repeat everything they said in the video. Pick 5 sentences that you like. And again, the criteria, what video should I use, what sentences should I repeat, I don't know. Pick whatever you like. And if you like it, that's good enough to watch it. That's good enough to work with it. Let them say a sentence, pause the video. If you need to listen to the sentence one more time, listen to it one more time, and repeat the sentence out loud thoughtfully. And then ask yourself, if I were to say the same sentence, would I structure my thoughts the same way? Why is the verb here? Why is the preposition here? Why is the preposition on and not with, right? Most people, it's enough if they understand. Oh, I understand what they said. Do not stop here. Understand, then deconstruct, then understand more, and then apply. If you understand what they said, most probably you received the message because they put enough effort into their thought process and speaking process so that you could get the message easily. They did their job so that you could understand. But if you understood something, probably you got the message and probably you immediately translated that message into your first language. So if you want to pass the message to someone else, you will most probably, well, maybe you will not, but many people will find themselves translating the message that they understood from their first language into their version of English. And they will structure their thoughts entirely differently, not the way they heard a person do it in the video. This is why really pause. It's a slow exercise there. You don't need to rush here. Look at the sentence, deconstruct it, and ask yourself, would you say it yourself this way? Would you put the words in this order if you were to say the sentence yourself? If you find that it took you by surprise, let's say that the word spend is used with on, because so many non-native speakers make a mistake and they say, we spend money for something. You have to say we spend money on something, we spend time and resources on something. If this is something you know, but you realize that you don't say it yourself, remember it. Say it again, repeat it probably a few more times, so pay more attention to the structure. Or if you notice that 2 words are together, but you would have never put them together if you were to say this sentence. For example, yesterday I was working with a student and we had this beautiful text where a person said, I thought it didn't bother me, but in its obviousness it did. Like, in its obviousness it did. It did bother me in its obviousness. So this is an interesting word combination. In its obviousness, even the word obviousness, how often do you use that, right? I use the word obvious, but that was also interesting for me. In its obviousness it did. You can enrich your vocabulary so easily if you start paying attention to the structure of the sentences and paying attention to the way the words are connected in a sentence, even if you know these words separately. Pay attention to how they are connected. So take any video, give yourself a job to repeat 5 sentences, analyze the structure of the sentences, and again, if you want feedback, just reach out and say what you did. How did it work for you? What did you notice in those sentences? Did you notice that you would have said it differently? Did you learn anything from the sentences? Always ask yourself, okay, I repeated 5 sentences. What did I learn from this exercise? Can you formulate it also in the English language? Can you formulate what have you learned from this exercise? Many people who watch YouTube videos and TV shows in the English language, they finish watching a TV show, they finish watching a movie, and if you ask them, like, okay, you have just spent 3 hours practicing English or thinking that you watched this movie to practice English, what did you learn from 3 hours of this immersive experience? And trust me, many people will not have the answer to that. My strategy is you can invest shorter amounts of time, but you always know why you're doing that and what you're getting from this short exercise. You have a goal, but at the end, you do not always reach exactly that goal. In my experience, you always reach way more than you expected, way more than the goal you set. Because people are unpredictable, people say things that you don't expect them to say. New information comes in, you work with information that you didn't know before. And in my experience, every time I practice my language skills, every time I work on my intonation, chunking, rhythm, diction, I get so many insights when I read fiction books that every time I practice, I overachieve my goals, because I always find something that I didn't even know exists. And it's a never-ending process, and it's amazingly interesting to me. So in order to be able to find these things in very simple, obvious, and trivial things, again, you need to work on your thinking skills. You think about the language differently, you think in the language differently, and you think about learning a language differently. And then it all works out. So to conclude, I want to tell you that you do not need to live in an English-speaking country to achieve native-like fluency. I have never lived in an English-speaking country. And I know a few people who have the same English skills as I do, or even better English skills than I do, and they also have never been to an English-speaking country, or they have spent maybe a couple months in an English-speaking country only. And if you are in the English-speaking country right now, if you're surrounded by native speakers, do not shift the responsibility of improving your language skills on them. It's still supposed to be your job, not their job. I hope that makes sense, guys. And if you have any questions, write them in the comments. I will reply. And if you do the exercises, feel free to come for feedback. Thank you very much for watching.